Pleased to welcome you now, Ryan Wilson from CBS Sports. You read him all draft season. Ryan, how many mock drafts did you do you think?
I can tell you exactly. I did 34. I usually start with the college football season, do one every week. And just for fun, they made me do two last week during the draft. So I did one Monday, then did one Thursday morning. So, yeah, I get to take a break. Actually, that's not true. And then this Monday, they made me do the first 2021 mock draft. So I think I get a little break now until the start of the college football season. Fingers crossed that'll be in September.
Give it big picture of Jags draft, right? So I have to think they were a tough team to figure out because Dave and Doug would seem to be, on the win now train because they were brought back after two losing seasons. And yet they had so much draft capital, you could hardly avoid the fact that they had an opportunity to really think big about the future. How do you think they performed in the draft overall?
I thought they did really well. I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you, Brian.
Right.
So on Thursday morning on CBSSports.com, I ranked every draft based by team. The top of the list were the Ravens. I thought the Ravens did the best job. At the bottom of the list, no surprise, probably the Packers. Right in the middle at 16 were the Jaguars, but it's worth noting that this was on a curve. So I gave them all numerical grades too, and the Jaguars had an 87.5, a B+. And I think most folks would take that, again, especially Packers fans. But it starts with C.J. Henderson, and it's sort of funny. I was talking last week to some radio guys in Jacksonville, and I had C.J. Henderson going number 9 in that Monday mock draft. They hated it. They talked me out of it. I took Javon Kinlaw, so that's one I missed. I'm counting that one, but I like C.J. Henderson going there. We know Jalen Ramsey's gone, those 2 first-round picks they got in exchange for him. So you got to replace him in some way, shape, or form. Henderson, is he Jalen Ramsey? No, but he is pretty close to being an all-around great cornerback. There were some issues about his tackling coming out of Florida. I think those things you can fix. But in terms of being the size, speed, weight, cover ability, those are all there, and I think he can have an impact day one. Caleb Chase on at number 20. Not a lot of people were sure if edge rusher would be in the mix there because we know Yannick Ngakoue is still there for now, and we know they drafted Josh Allen last year. But you can never have enough pass rushers, in much the same way you can never have enough defensive backs to help you on the back end there. Chase Allen's my number 2 edge rusher after Chase Young. I think he has a chance to come in situationally and do some things as he gets stronger because he's going to need to get a little bit stronger. Not great yet, and I think he can be in terms of setting the edge in the run game. But that's okay. You know what you got in him, and you go from there. And maybe my favorite pick is Laviska Shenault they got in round 2. First-round talent, injury history, and I think that's why he fell to round 2. I think he has a chance sneakily to vie for Rookie of the Year offensively just because Gardner Minshew is going to need some reliable targets. And I think Laviska has a chance to be that guy if he can get healthy. He can do it all. He lines up outside, inside. He can line up even a wildcat, H-back. And you find ways to get the ball in his hands creatively, and he's going to have success. And I think that's a big part of what this offense was missing. So just those first 3 picks, I thought were home runs, and I thought they filled huge needs. And I was really impressed what they did at the top of that draft.
Ryan, if you look at the way that mock drafts unfold, they create scenarios in people's mind. For instance, there were a lot of people that were doing mock drafts that had Derek Brown falling all the way to number 9. And I'll just use that as the example. I think people were disappointed with the cornerback because they thought, we're going to go get Derek Brown. All the mock drafts say he's falling to us. And when they took C.J. Henderson, people didn't see the need and value sort of combining there at number 9. So you mentioned some of the attributes that Henderson brings. How valuable is a shutdown sort of corner, especially because it only seemed like there were 2, Okudah and Henderson?
Yeah, we'll see, actually. This class was sneakily deep at cornerback, but in terms of checking all the boxes, C.J. Henderson was it. And by the way, you asked, Brian, how invaluable is that? Ask the New England Patriots. They built their defense from back in, and then they moved forward. And that secondary is lights out, and that's a huge part of their success. Devin McCourty, the safety, is obviously a big part of it, but so is Steph Gilmore, that lockdown cornerback. Could C.J. Henderson be Steph Gilmore? Well, we'll see. But in terms of projecting him into having success in the NFL, I think it's all there. I would have been, if they had taken A.J. Terrell at number 9, I would have been a little more surprised. But C.J. Henderson makes sense. There were some rumblings in the days leading up to the draft that teams may be looking to trade up, the Falcons in particular, to try to get someone like C.J. Henderson. They say Putin got Terrell at 16, I believe, and I think that's a good fit for the spot there. But there is no shame in taking C.J. Henderson number 9. And the name that I was right next on the list to talk about in terms of the defensive tackle, Devon Hamilton is a baller, and he stuck out to me throughout the college football season. in part because you're watching Chase Young and you look one person over. Oh, there's Devon Hamilton. So then the question becomes: is he benefiting from playing next to Chase Young, or is this mostly Devon Hamilton doing work? And we'll find out. I think it's some combination of the two, but. He's an extremely good player. Is he Derek Brown? No. Is he Javon Kinlaw? No. But he is very disruptive. And to get him there in the second or third round, I think is where they got him, is a fantastic value. I think he's going to be a really good player. So if you switch that, so let's say you had Javon Kinlaw at 9, what cornerback are you getting in the 70s? And it's not going to be the same value. I think the Jaguars went about it the exact right way. And it's hard for me to fault anything they did there with those first 3 picks.
John and I talked a lot, John Ogier, about how the Jaguars had 12 picks, and we expected in the days and weeks leading up to the draft that Dave Caldwell would be able to maneuver around and target some guys. And in the end, he sat still and used all 12 picks. Now, part of that is, I think, the depth of this draft. Were you surprised that a team with 12 picks used them all?
Yeah, in much the same way I was surprised the Vikings took all 15 of their picks. I think they had 15. But again, when you go through these names, so Ben Barch is going to be a developmental guy, but came in as tight end at D3 school St. John's in Minnesota, went to the Senior Bowl and held his own, and more than held his own, to the point where if you had said to someone who didn't know, oh, that kid's from Alabama, they'd have been like, oh, that makes sense the way he's playing. So I love him. There's a chance he goes from tackle to maybe kicks inside. But again, Josiah Scott, he's an undersized cornerback out of Michigan State, but he is aggressive. He goes after it, and those are the type of players you want. All the way down to Colin Johnson in round 5, who returned to Texas in 2018 for the 2019 season. There were some conversations he would have been an early round pick had he come out in 2018. Didn't have a great 2019, but the ability is there if you watch him play. A bigger target down the field for Gardner Minshew or whoever ends up being quarterback. But in terms of what the Jaguars did, look, man, C.J. Henderson could be a special player. K'Lavon Chaisson could be a special player. The same with Laviska, the same with Devon Hamilton. And those are your first 4 picks. So, I mean, that's where you have to hit on your first round pick. That's where the conversation starts for really good football teams. And then really good football teams add depth on day 3 with guys who can contribute, whether it's on special teams to start or sort of move into starting roles at some point later in their career. And there are guys in this draft class that can do just that. So I think, I keep coming back to it. The Jaguars had a list of things they needed to address, Doug and Dave, and that's exactly what they did. And I know, as you mentioned, Brian, some Jaguars fans weren't crazy about the C.J. Henderson at number 9 because of expectations that maybe it would be someone else like Derek Brown. But I think you'll be pleasantly surprised once you see C.J. Henderson play on a consistent basis just how good he can be.